misdemeanor cases in which individuals were recently charged and arrested with misdemeanor offenses, booked at the Fulton County Jail, and soon thereafter, the cases were formally accused by the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County. Therefore, the case is now before the State Court of Fulton County, and this would be the defendant's initial appearance. At this time, the defendants are advised that they have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything you choose to say during the course of this proceeding, which is not only being recorded but live streamed, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one of the attorneys from the Public Defender's Office will qualify you for their services and be appointed to represent you. Some of you may be appointed with what we call our conflict defense attorneys. When I call your case, I will let you know what is your accusation number, the charges of which you're being accused, as well as set a bond and appoint counsel to represent you. Some of you may even receive a new court date. Ms. Bridgewater, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
All right, and what's our new court date? Is that going to be the
January the 24th.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's begin with courtroom 2. Who do we have, please?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to start with position 18.
All right, we have State versus Jalen Devon Thornton-Thomas, case number 23CR 000150G. Mr. Thornton-Thomas is being accused of battery, domestic violence from January 9th, 2023. Mr. Thornton, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. All right. And Ms. Kim, Mr. Howard.
Third arrest. Last arrest was back in June for suspended license out of LaGrange. He's on probation for that. April 2022, possession of a Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substance. It was amended and dismissed. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Thomas, or Mr. Rogers, excuse me.
Yes, on January the 9th of 2023, officers arrived to 4060 Herschel Road. Officers came in contact with a Miss Sharisa Thornton. She is the mother of the defendant. She informed officers that her and her son were involved in a verbal dispute, and her son began to punch her in the face multiple times. She suffered injuries, including swelling and bleeding from the face noticed by the officers. At this time, Your Honor, we request a $3,000 surety bond for Mr. Thorne.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Thornton is 21 years old, and he and his mother, they do not reside together. So, and then also that apartment, 4060 Herschel Road, is in his name, and his mother does not reside there. We would like to request for a signature bond, of course, and yet he has been here in Georgia all his life, 21 years, and he's gainfully employed as a truck driver for RGA Logistics. He's been doing that for about 2 months, and prior to that, he worked for Miracle Movers about 2 years. And also he, let me see. I think that's about it, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see there's S. Thornton on the Zoom. That is Sharice Thornton. You're free to start your video and say something, otherwise I'm moving on. Is that Sharice Thornton?
I think she works in the solicitor's office.
Oh, okay. So I guess that's a different Thornton then. All right. Bond is going to be set at 2,500. It's going to be a surety bond. Next court date is January 24th. at 9 a.m. in courtroom G33. No further contact with Sharice Thornton. And as long as Ms. Sharice Thornton does not occupy the premises at 4060 Herschel Road, Mr. Thornton-Thomas may return to that location. However, if Ms. Sharice Thornton does live there, then he cannot return to that property. He may go back one time only to retrieve his personal belongings. He must go back in the company of a police officer. The police officer can verify whether Ms. Sharice Thornton lives there or not. Mr. Rogers, do you know from victim advocates if the alleged victim lives there?
A second, Your Honor. Just so you know.
Okay, while you're looking that up, also, Ms. Bridgewater, make sure we note that no alcohol, no drugs, and no weapons.
Will do, Judge.
The victim states she still wants contact with her son, and she is okay with him returning back to the home.
Does she live there?
I assume they do live together, Your Honor.
All right, Miss Iman, yes, any information on where she lives?
Yes, I was told by her that she does live there.
All right, then he cannot return to that property. As long as she occupies the property, he would need to find separate housing. And within 30 days of being released on bond, he must update the court with his new address. Thank you. Next case, please.
Position 1.
All right,
Your Honor,
yes, Ms. Gant.
good afternoon. Mr. Innocent Ajuzi will be proceeding pro se on a plea. He declines my services.
All right, thank you. This estate was as Innocent Jerome Ajuzi, case number 23 CR 0000142H. Mr. Ajuzi has been accused of criminal trespass from January 9th, 2023. Mr. Ajuzi, my name is Judge Long. You've been advised of your right to remain silent. You also have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, the Public Defender's Office is willing to represent you. However, if you choose to represent yourself, then at the present time, you'll be responsible for all legal decisions as to how it impacts your particular case, as well as how it may possibly also impact bond. Mr. Ajuzi has been accused of criminal trespass at the 5 Points Model Station on that specific date. So let's first proceed with pretrial. Mr. Howard, any priors?
This is 10th arrest. Last arrest was back in March. It was on martyr for felony terroristic threats. 2021 July, probation for ag assault. He's on first offender probation for 2 counts of felony obstruction out of DeKalb County.
All right. Thank you.
2019 battery conviction.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Mr. Taylor? Is it Mr. Taylor? I don't know who's the ASG.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes, the facts of the case were that Mr. Ajuzi was boarding the train heading to the 5 Point station when the MARTA PD overheard him say that he has that ZA, which is slang for selling marijuana. He was placed in handcuffs and taken to the 5 Point station where a search was ran, and it revealed that he had an active suspension from 12/9/2022. The state's recommendation for a plea, which I understand he will be entering as a pro se defendant, would be 12 months probation, 1 day in jail, credit for 1 day served with the balance suspended, and to stay away from the 5 Point MARTA station.
All right. Mr. Ajuzi, have you chosen to represent yourself? We need to unmute courtroom 2.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And how would you like to proceed?
I would like to proceed with my guilty plea, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Taylor, do you have the plea paperwork to be sent to the jail?
Yes, Your Honor, I sent it over to the jail probably about 50 minutes ago.
All right. Mr. Ajuzi, you would need to get a copy of the documents sent by the prosecutor, review all the documents, sign the appropriate places, and then the deputy needs to send it back to either to Mr. Taylor.
We're getting that now, Judge.
All right. You can also send a copy to Holly Bridgewater,
Okay.
holly.bridgewater@fultoncountyga.gov. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We'll take this at the close of the calendar. Next case, please.
Position 3, Bailey.
This is Nicholas Jerome Bailey, case number 23 CR 0001438. Mr. Bailey is accused of battery from January 9th, 2023. Mr. Bailey, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Gant. Mr. Howard, any priors?
Appears to be on probation. DeKalb County for possession of a firearm by convicted felon or felony first offender. That's in Emmanuel County, I'm sorry.
Do you have the disposition date? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
The dates they have on here, March 2019. It was
Okay,
a 5-year sentence, 2 to serve, 3 probated.
okay.
Yeah, that was in Emmanuel. I got a 2020 probation violation. 2021 failure to appear, that was dismissed. 2019 failure to appear. Obstruction conviction. 2018 suspended license. 2018 possession of firearm by convicted felon.
I'm sorry, 2018 was another possession?
That's the same case.
Oh, I see. So the 2019 was the probation violation?
No.
Yes.
Violated.
And got a 07 armed robbery, 2 counts conviction out of Fulton County. That's 07 SC 54476.
All right, thank you. Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor. The facts of the case are that at the Garnett Street MARTA station, Mr. Bailey got into an altercation with the victim, Juan Alvarado, by striking him in the face, causing visible bodily injury. I do want to point out that for the armed robbery, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. So that explains the gap between 2007 and 2019 for his criminal history. Based off of his prior convictions and the fact that this, is yet another act of violence, the state would be recommending a $4,000 surety bond, stay away from the Garnett Street station location at 235 Peachtree Street Southwest, and to have no further contact with the victim, Juan Alvarado.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Nicholas Bailey is 33 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area his entire life. He is the proud father of 3 children, 4 children, ages 3, 4, 12, and a newborn. Mr. Bailey completed high school, and he is recently enrolled at the West Tech College, where he's studying business management. At this time, Your Honor, Mr. Bailey is unemployed and has been so for the past 1.5 months. He does not have the ability nor family resources to assist with bond. He further informs me that he has actually some treatment lined up. He has actually a bed waiting for him. So we are wanting a signature bond so that Mr. Bailey can get out to tend to his health matters. He certainly denies the allegations. He states that the complaining witness, Mr. Juan Alvarado, actually approached him and touched him in a threatening manner and that he was merely defending himself. I am requesting again, Your Honor, a signature bond on Mr. Bailey's behalf. We are unopposed to the stay away and the no contact conditions. And if Your Honor determines that he is ineligible for a signature bond, then we would ask for the lowest bond possible. Thank you, Your Honor.
Bond is set at $2,000. It's a surety bond. No further contact with Juan Alvarado. To stay away from all MARTA property until further order of the court. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. And his next court date is January 24th.
Thank you, Your
Honor. Courtroom 3, who do we have?
Position 5, Casey.
Is that in courtroom 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, we're trying to do.
I have position number 2, Judge.
All right.
Okay.
I'll be right with you in courtroom 3. Position
Okay.
5, State versus John Casey is 23 CR 000148D. Mr. Casey has been accused of DUI under the influence of alcohol, that's safe, from the 8th of January of this year. Mr. Casey, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Gant. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest, last was 1998 DUI out of California.
All right. Ms. Todd?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant was found sleeping in his car in the middle of the street on Clear Creek Terrace. When officers spoke to the defendant, he admitted that he had driven to that spot where he had left his vehicle, and he admitted that he had been drinking prior to driving. In addition to defendant's admissions, officers did notice that the defendant's eyes were red and watery, his speech was slurred and slow, and he was unsteady on his feet. This is not his first DUI, Your Honor. While his first one was remote, it still is very likely to lead to a risk of reoffense in this case. We are asking for a $3,000 surety bond, no driving without a valid license, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Nothing further.
Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. John Casey is 59 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area since 2010. His only family member here, Your Honor, is a brother, and he states that his brother passed away about 3 years ago. He completed high school. He worked as a paramedic. However, Your Honor, Mr. Casey has been disabled for many years. He suffers from serious osteoarthritis of his knees, and he was diagnosed with a neurologic disease at age 16 that causes essential tremors. So it's our position, Your Honor, that his healthcare problems contributed to is the actual cause of his presentation. He denies the allegations. I would bring to the court's attention that Mr. Casey has not had any contact with law enforcement since 1998. That is a remote DUI conviction. I am requesting a signature bond on Mr. Casey's behalf, and if Your Honor determines that he's ineligible, and I would ask for a very low bond, no more than $1,000, Your Honor. And lastly, I will bring to the court's attention that Mr. Casey states that his car was parked at his house, his residence at Clear Creek Terrace, Your Honor. Thank you.
I don't recall that. It was parked in his garage in the driveway?
According to the warrant, Your Honor, it was parked in the middle of the street.
That's what I thought. White Ford on Clear Creek Terrace. The accused allegedly admitted to driving the vehicle to the middle of the street before stopping and falling asleep.
No.
Mr. Casey, please.
It doesn't show that the vehicle was. Okay. Bond is going to be set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. No drinking alcohol, no illegal drugs, and his driver's license will be suspended within 30 days of the arrest unless he files the appropriate paperwork with the Department of Driver Services. Next court date is going to be January 24th. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Judge Law, he has a question.
Do you have a question for your attorney or for the court?
I'm happy to give you a call, Mr. Casey.
I have a statement actually to.
No, I don't want you to make any statements. I'll give you a call at the jail.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Position 7, Dotson.
No, hang on. I'm going to position 3 for a second, and that was position number 2.
Oh, go ahead, Bogo.
Yes, position 2.
Right, okay. This is courtroom 3. We have State versus Dominique Aston-Johnson, 23 CR 000141D. Miss Aston-Johnson's accused of battery, domestic violence from November 4th of last year. And Miss Aston, this information goes to everyone in courtroom 3. All of you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Any statements you make about the circumstances surrounding your case, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one of our public defense counsel will represent you. All right, Mr. Howard, any priors on Ms. Aston-Johnson?
I got a 2021 arrest out of Texas for public peace. Also got history out of New Jersey. Hold on. There was a hold out of Ashburn, Georgia. A 2012 arrest out of New Jersey. Simple assault. That was dismissed. 2009 arrest for simple assault dismissed. A first cycle in New Jersey was a juvie arrest. That's all I have.
All right, thank
So
you.
this is her third adult arrest.
Okay, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor. Officers reported to the location of 2495 Ozark Trail in response to a domestic dispute. Officers made contact with the victim, and she said that she had a fight with her girlfriend, who took a cooking pan and struck her in the face with it. Officers were able to observe visible swelling to the victim's face. The defendant had already left the scene when officers arrived and refused to come back and speak with them. We would be asking for a $4,000 surety bond to stay away from the location, 2495 Ozark Trail Southwest, to have no contact with the victim, Gabrielle Harris, and to take one anger management class.
Thank you. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Dominique Aston-Johnson is 35 years old. She has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area for 10 years. She states that she does not have any family members here except for the complaining witness, which is her girlfriend, Ms. Gabrielle Harris. Ms. Aston-Johnson completed high school. She also has 3 years of college. She studied media arts and graphic design. Ms. Aston-Johnson is employed. She is a FedEx delivery driver. She has been in that position for about 1 month. She is still on probation at that job, Your Honor, so she definitely needs to be released so that she can get back to work. She strongly denies the allegations. I did have the occasion to speak with Ms. Harris. Ms. Harris and my client want to continue having contact with each other. I would bring to the court's attention that this incident is alleged to have occurred back in November, so if the court is concerned about a cooling off period, we have that, although my client is presumed innocent. I did not hear about any convictions for violence. Therefore, I am requesting a signature bond on Ms. Aston-Johnson's behalf. We are opposed to the stay away and the no contact orders and would ask for a no violent contact order. Thank you, Your Honor.
Is Ms. Gabrielle Harris on the Zoom?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right. Ms. Harris, my name is Judge Lal. If you'd like to say something, I'd like to place you on the oath first.
Yes, ma'am.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Who called the authorities on the day in question?
I did, Gabrielle Harris.
And have you and Miss Aston-Thompson resumed living together since then?
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Okay, and what would you like to tell me?
We have took a counseling class where we have anger management and we discuss the issues. We have had communication with each other prior to the situation, so that way it doesn't transpire again, to work on what's necessary in the home, because we are on the lease together.
I'm so sorry, where did you have the classes?
We took them at what's this called? It's in downtown Atlanta.
Okay, what kind of school is this? What kind of agency is
We
it?
went to a counseling class. Miss Ashton actually booked the class for us.
All right, thank you. Bond is going to be set at $3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. Ms. Aston-Johnson, once you sign up on this signature bond, you're to report to pretrial once a month. You're to have no further violent contact with Gabrielle Harris, which means that y'all can live together, but there cannot be any physical or verbal altercation. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons and firearms. So if you possess, or if there's a firearm at home, either you or the firearm must be removed. Your next court date will be sent to you at your current address. If you change your address, make sure that you let the courts know. While you're out on a signature bond, you will also attend and complete 8 anger management classes at a qualified program. And that is something that only you need to attend, and you need to do so at your expense. Those classes must be commenced within 60 days of being released. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position number 8, Ms. Frazier.
I know.
This is State versus Kayla Frazier, accused of battery, January 8th, 2023. Ms. Frazier, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Gant, Ms. Wanda Gant. Mr. Howard, any priors?
On probation enforcement, ag assault, criminal trespass. It's 21 SC 179141. Back in May, they gave a 1-year commuted time served and 1-year probation. Got an open battery DV in state court, 20 CR 002 065Y.
All right, thank you. Ms. Todd?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to start by pointing out that this is a case that involves a co-defendant. So I will be introducing some facts from that warrant that are also relevant in this case. Officers were dispatched to 1856 Wells Drive on reports of a fight in progress. It appears that a Miss Latwana Albrighton, that's Latwana, Albrighton is ALBRITTON, and a Miss Shantika Henderson, that's SHUNTIKA, Henderson common spelling, were involved in a fight when the defendant began striking Miss Albrighton along with Miss Henderson, leaving various bruises on her body. As pretrial stated, there are actually 11 total cycles in this case. The defendant is currently on probation from a 2022 felony conviction for aggravated assault and criminal trespass. The case number in that one is 21 SC 79141. The defendant also has an open simple battery family violence case before Judge Edie. The case number in that one is 20 CR 002065Y. The defendant is also being held on an FTA warrant due to her failure to appear before Judge Edie. Because of all of these factors, Your Honor, the state is asking for a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Miss Latwana Albrighton or Miss Shantika Henderson. We are also asking for a stay away from 1856 Wells Drive and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Thank you. Ms. Gant?
Yes, Your Honor. Kayla Frazier is 23 years old. She has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area for 12 years. She is the proud mother of 2 children, ages 3 and 5. She is the primary caretaker and she's not receiving any child support. Ms. Frazier completed high school. She is now enrolled at the University of Chattanooga studying business administration. She reports that her GPA is 2.9. She is currently employed as an unarmed security officer at CSL. She has been in that position for about 6 months. However, she works part-time. She has to actually take off or not work as much so that she can provide health care, child care, or keep her children, Your Honor. She strongly denies the allegations. She states that on this particular occasion, Miss Lawana Albertson and Shantika Henderson were actually fighting, and she was more so taking measures to break up the fight. And she states that she was scratched in the process of breaking up the fight, Your Honor. I do acknowledge my client's history. However, I would ask that Your Honor grant her a signature bond if Your Honor determines that she's ineligible, and I would ask for the lowest bond possible. We are unopposed to the no contact and the stay away orders. And I would also bring to the court's attention regarding the bench warrant, Your Honor. She is, I believe there's a $1,500 cash bond there. She has expressed that she doesn't have the resources to make bond for that case. And further, she informed me that, and I verified in Odyssey, that the court date was January 18th, 2022. And she states that she was actually in custody and arrested on July 9th, 2022. So for these reasons, Your Honor, we are requesting a signature bond or the lowest bond possible. And again, we are unopposed to any no contact and stay away orders. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Bond is set at $1,500. Is going to be a surety bond. just with the fact with her open cases and her history and the FTA, she doesn't qualify for a signature bond. She's to stay away from 1856 Wells Drive and have no contact with Latuana Albrighton and Shantiqua Henderson. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms, and no alcohol. Next court date is January 24th. Okay. I guess we can go ahead and also reset Judge Edie's case 20 CR 002-065Y.
Yes, Judge, I got that. We'll put it on that calendar. with it.
All right, thank you.
Position 16.
This is State versus Olex Semple, SEMPLE, case number 23 CR 0000147F. Ms. Semple is accused of criminal trespass from January 9th of this year. Ms. Semple, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Mr. Howard?
First arrest shows, booking sheet says she's homeless.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor. This is a criminal trespass case that occurred on January 9th, 2023. Officers were dispatched at 1405 Clifton Road, which is a Children's Hospital of Atlanta. The officers spoke with the hospital security officer, Cameron Shaver. Shaver stated that Semple has previously trespassed at this location and was instructed not to return. Semple was asked several times to leave the premises, but failed to comply. She was then detained and escorted out of the building, where she was given her trespass paperwork. She was also informed that she could not return to the location until her issues with defects regarding her child were resolved. Once Shaver gave Ms. Semple her paperwork, she left the vicinity only to return shortly after. We understand this is her first arrest, and because she is unhoused, the state is recommending a signature bond, also to stay away from this location and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
So I'm curious. So she's going back to the hospital because her child is there, or because there's an agency there that she has to deal with?
I didn't have any facts on that, Your Honor. Just the security officer told her not to return until she had those issues resolved, but I'm not sure if her child is there or if there's some kind of facility to help her there. So.
Okay.
Your Honor, from my understanding with my client, she does have a daughter who's there.
There where?
Was there at the Children's Hospital, and yet now the daughter is transferred to Emory University Hospital now.
Oh, okay. And what are you seeking in terms of bond?
Signature on bond, we have no objection.
Okay. This is going to be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. And Ms. Semple, if you are trying to work towards getting your daughter reinstated with you, getting arrested again and again for trespasses or any other offenses is not going to help your case. This creating a criminal record history is going to make it more and more difficult for you, irrespective of which agency hears your case. So right now, I'm going to have you released on a signature bond. Your next court date, you will need to make sure that you keep in touch with the public defender's office. Do you have a phone number or an email?
I do not have them. She does not have those either. And yet I'll call the jail and speak to her to get the
Well, let's see. Ms. Semple, do you have a contact number or an email that we can reach you?
Everything is in my phone.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I have Ulexsample.com. My daughter opened
Deputy Bowles, what is she saying?
May I
She
please
said
call the jail?
everything. She said everything is in her phone.
My daughter she
All
opened
right.
a for me, Ulexsample.com.
Okay. All right, this is going to be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Within 72 hours of being released, Ms. Semplex must update the court with her phone number, email, and an address at which she can receive notices. She is to stay away from the Children's Hospital of Atlanta at 1405 Clifton Street. And if she has plans to go to the Emory University Hospital, she has to make sure that she doesn't get arrested there. Like I said, if she gets a criminal history arrest record, that's not going to help her case with her child. All right. Thank you.
Miss
Yes,
Kim,
yes.
I'm sorry, Judge. Miss Kim, can I call you?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
All right. Thank you, Bogle. All
no
right.
problem.
All right. Moving on to courtroom 2. Who do we have, please?
Position 7, Mr. Dotson.
This is State versus Eric Dotson, 23 CR 0000149E. Mr. Dotson's been accused of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from yesterday. Mr. Dotson, your attorney is Ms. Gant, and you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Mr. Howard?
6 total between Georgia and Illinois. On probation in DeKalb County for 2 different ag assaults, one from 2017, one 2018. Also, inflict pain on an elderly person or resident.
When was this?
That goes with one of the ag assaults. That go with the 2017.
And these were from DeKalb?
Correct.
All right, that's
Yeah, they
good.
got it.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Is it Ms. Todd?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
All right, and what is the state's recommendation?
Your Honor, because the officers were called out to 695 Field Street on reports of a suspicious person sleeping in his car, and when the officers arrived, they asked the defendant to exit the vehicle, and upon exiting, the defendant led them on a 2-block chase on foot before he was able to be successfully detained. The state is recommending a $1,500 surety bond, a stay away from 695 Field Street, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Okay. And Ms. Gant? I'm sorry, is it Ms. Gant who's the PD?
Yes, it is, Your Honor. I do apologize. I was
That's all
trying to unmute my screen. Mr. Eric Dotson is 31 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area his entire life. However, he does not have any family here. He completed high school. He is unemployed at this time and has been so for about 1 year. He is also homeless, Your Honor. He denies the allegations. He's presumed innocent, and because this is a non-violent offense, Your Honor, I am requesting a signature bond on Mr. Dotson's behalf. He doesn't have the means to pay anything toward bond, Your Honor, and we are unopposed to the stay away at the incident location.
I have a Conley, Georgia address. What's that about?
That is a former address of his. He relocated to Atlanta. He is doesn't live in Conley, Georgia, Your Honor.
Bond is set at 500. Is this a surety bond? Next court date is January 24th. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 6, Jesus.
Your Honor, I apologize for interrupting. Will the stay away be granted as well with that bond?
He was found in a car, right?
He was, but there is an address that his car was found near. We're not really sure why he was in the area. It's the 695 Field Street.
Has he been trespassed from the location?
We do not believe so.
Okay, then let's just leave it as it is right now.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
And I beg your pardon, position, is that position? No, I'm so sorry. Courtroom 2, who do we have?
It's position 6, Jesus.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Jesus.
All right. This is Antonio De Jesus. Mr. De Jesus, my name is Judge Lal. I don't mean to be rude. Do you speak and understand English?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Sir, your case number is 23 CR 0000153Y, accused of criminal trespass from January 8th, 2023. Okay, I see that there are 2 other open cases with regards to Mr. Antonio De Jesus. You've been advised of your right to remain silent. Is that, and your attorney is Ms. McLeod? Mr. Howard, any priors?
Yeah, I didn't break this file down because it wasn't on a full sheet. He got at least 30 arrests. I see October arrest in Johns Creek for battery, September DUI, 2021 ag stalking, you got first offender. He's on probation for that. That's 22 SC 181489. 2019 probation violation. What else? 2019 criminal damage to property, simple battery DV. 2018 stalking conviction. 2018 probation. 2018 contempt of court, harassment phone call conviction. 2018.
That's good. Thank you. Mr. Rogers?
The facts are, officers were dispatched on January the 8th of 2023 to 1204 Grovehurst Drive. When officers arrived, Miss Angelina De Jesus, who is the wife of Antonio De Jesus, informed officers that Antonio had they had been involved in a verbal dispute. Antonio left the home, returned. The door was locked. He tried to enter the home. He was not let into the home, so he forced his way in by breaking down the front door by the use of his fist. It is to be noted that Mr. De Jesus did enter into a 3-year probation agreement as part of the First Offender Act for the aggravated stalking charge on September the 9th, on September the 16th of 2022. On December the 16th of 2022, he violated that probation 1 month later by committing battery to a third-party witness. In this case, also a Mr. Pritchham, Premchand, last name. And he's currently being held for that violation of probation charge. The state requests a $2,000 cash bond due to the repeated violations in this matter, and stay away order from the victim, in this case, Miss Angelina De Jesus, and the victim in the previous matter, Mr. Pritchham. We also asked for anger management classes, no drugs, alcohols, or weapons while on bond. That's all, Your Honor.
All right. And just to be clear, this is criminal trespass causing damage to property, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client, Mr. De Jesus, is 32 years old. He tells me that he's been living in Georgia, and the only person that he has in terms of a relative in the state of Georgia is his wife. I did try to reach out to Mrs. De Jesus, but was unable to get her on the phone, Your Honor. He tells me that he does not have anywhere else to live other than what would be their home. They have been married for 8 years. And he tells me that this was a verbal argument that they had, and he really doesn't remember what happened because he had had a drink. He had been drinking, and he doesn't really remember what happened. Your Honor, this was his home as well. So I am a little concerned about the criminal trespass charge since he lives there, he pays rent there, and has been living there for a while. My client is not in a position to pay a cash bond, Your Honor. So I would ask the court to give him a surety bond so he can get out of jail, get back to work. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Bond is set at $5,000. It is a surety bond. Next court date is January 24th. No contact with Angelina De Jesus. No contact with Panigra Premchand. I guess it might be a neighbor.
I think he's a friend, Your Honor. He's a friend of the couple.
And he's to stay away from the entire complex referred to as 1204 Grovehurst Drive in Johns Creek, Georgia. No illegal weapons, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no alcohol. And we're going to reset the 2 other cases along with this one to the January 24th SAP calendar. 22 CR 006-136Y, 22 CR 006-960Y. All 3 cases will be addressed at the January 24th SAP calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, will you spell that other person's name?
All right. First name is Panigrahi. Panigrahi. Last name Premchand. Premchand.
Thank you.
And Mr. De Jesus has to understand that he cannot make any calls to Miss Angelina De Jesus from the jail as well. Those calls are monitored, and any such calls would result in his bond being revoked in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 9, Gardner.
State versus Elijah Nathaniel Gardner is accused of battery domestic violence from January 7th, 2023. The accusation is 23 CR 000146C. Mr. Gardner, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. McLeod.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Howard?
10 total. Last arrest was in 2018. Misdemeanor possession of marijuana. He got 2014 failure to appear for trafficking, drug trafficking. He don't have any violence.
I'm sorry, was that a conviction, drug trafficking?
It just says FTA.
Okay.
FTA for trafficking.
Ms. Dillingham?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Okay.
In this case, which happened on January 8th of 2023, officers responded to the intersection of Mount Olive and West Rugby Avenue, where they encountered the defendant and the victim, Aisha Sneeze, fighting in the car. Officers observed and caught on their body cam the defendant standing outside of the car over Miss Sneeze, swinging her arms, and the officer observed him hit her in the face. When the officers approached the two, they noticed and observed a visible open wound to her face as a result of the altercation. And for that reason, Your Honor, the state does have concerns regarding reoffending. And we are requesting a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim.
All right. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 39 years old. As Spiritualis pointed out, he has no violent history at all. He does have some prior convictions, but they were drug-related and I believe fairly remote. My client denies that he and the alleged victim were fighting. I was able to speak with the alleged victim, and she also denies that they were fighting. She says that they were having an argument. I would also like to point out to the court that I read the warrant, and the police officers said that he thought that my client may have struck her, but he did not see my client strike her. He was just standing outside of the car. The alleged victim is here, and I would like the court to hear from her. I would ask the court to give my client a signature bond, Your Honor. I think, given the nature of this charge and what the alleged victim is saying, and even what the warrant says, that my client, who has no prior violent history, should get a signature bond, Your Honor. But I would ask the court to at least listen to the alleged victim's statements as to what happened.
Okay. Ms. Sneeze, I gather you're the young lady with the black top?
Yes. How you doing, Judge?
Fine, thank you. Let's go ahead and change our panel to Ms. Sneeze. All right, Ms. Sneeze, if you raise your hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. How do you know Mr. Gardner?
Me and Mr. Gardner are in a relationship. We have been living together for 6.5 years.
All right. And it looks like when the officers appeared at the scene sometime just before midnight, it appears, on January 7th, that they observed what they've described as an active fight. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, ma'am. Me and Mr. Gardner were not fighting. What Mr. Gardner was doing, reaching over me, trying to get his keys out the car. Me and him had got into a verbal altercation about a drink. It was not nothing physical. We was arguing, so he probably heard the noise, but Mr. Gardner never put his hands on me. And I explained that to the officer. The officer was having a bad day and he really didn't want to deal with it. He listened to my side of the story. He listened to Mr. Gardner's side of the story. And we both agreed that Mr. Gardner did not put his hands on me. And the wounds that he was seeing on my body that he was asking me about, I was showing the police that the old scars on my face and my neck, and those come from years ago. They questioned me about, look, I have scars on my neck. If y'all can see on the camera, these are old scars. And I explained that to the officer. I got scars all over me from being in an abusive relationship with my child's father, but that been over 10 years ago.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to add, Ms. Dillingham?
Yes, Your Honor, the state would like to object to a signature bond due to the fact that the officers did state that they observed an open wound upon responding, in addition to hearing Ms. Sneeze screaming in the vehicle at the time they approached.
Okay. I honestly can't see an open wound unless that's through the magic of makeup. So I honestly won't be able to comment one way or another about that. The bond is going to be set at $2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services per judge. No further violent contact with Aisha Sneeze. While Mr. Gardner is released on a signature bond, he will attend and complete a 12-week anger management program at a qualified school, and that must be done within started within 60 days of being released on the signature bond. He will report to pretrial once a month, and he must make sure that we have his current address at all times. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. And his next court date will be mailed to him. The only address we have on him is
he tells me you're on another 3389 Spreading Oak Drive in Atlanta is a good address for him.
all right. If he changes that, we're the first folks who should find out about the change of address. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Position 10, Johnson.
Mr. Johnson's case is 23 CR 0000155F. He's accused of criminal trespass and public drunk from yesterday. Mr. Johnson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be
Petey Kim.
Ms. Kim, okay.
Yes.
Mr. Howard, any priors?
He got over 20 cycles. Most of them come out of Florida. He got a 2021 in East Point for obstruction. It just says bind over. Before that was the 2019 probation out of Florida.
Okay. Ms. Kim, I'm sorry, Ms. Dillingham, what's your bond recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. This case did occur yesterday, January 9th, 2023, where officers responded to the MARTA station at 70 Hamilton East Holmes Drive Northwest. Defendant was visibly intoxicated, and after being asked multiple times to leave, refused to, in addition to yelling obscene language. The state is recommending a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and a stay away order from that MARTA station at 70 East Hamilton.
All right. Ms. Kim, he's got a Florida address. I can't do a pretrial bond.
He has been here in Georgia for 1 year, and he said that.
I've got my
Yep. When you talk about your address, please.
yes, ma'am. I have my Georgia's address and my Georgia's license now. My address is 2040 Stanton Road, apartment D1 in East Point, Georgia.
2040 Stanton Road.
Yes, ma'am. 30344. 30344.
And that's your current address?
Yes, ma'am. I have it on my new on my new ID, but they grabbed my Florida ID because they didn't see my paper ID in my wallet. But
Mr. Johnson, that's sufficient. Please. Yeah.
All right. I'll accept the state's recommendations, $1,500 on each count. That's a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. He will report to pretrial once a month. If he gets arrested again for anything else, he will lose his signature bond and be back in jail on a surety or cash bond. Within 2 weeks of being released, I'll need him to come down to the clerk's office at the Fulton County Court, bring his current ID with his current address, and reconfirm his mailing address and contact information. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, and he'll be subject to random screens by pretrial services for drugs and or alcohol. He's also to stay away from the Hamilton E. Holmes Martyr Station. He cannot embark or disembark from that station at any time until further order of the court.
Per judge, per state, however you want to look at it.
Thank you.
Per judge at state's recommendation. Let's put it that way. All right, moving on.
Position 11, Kelly.
Dotson.
This is State versus Dante Kelly, accused of battery, domestic violence from September 5th, 2021. Mr. Kelly's case is 23 CR 000151C. Mr. Kelly, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Kim. Mr. Howard, any priors?
This is fifth adult arrest. Last was 2017, failed to appear conviction out of Forest Park. 2017, misdemeanor possession of marijuana, driving without a valid license, that was dismissed. 2017, suspended license dismissed. 08, trespass arrest. The first cycle was a juvie.
Okay.
And they say you got an open case out of the cab for theft by taking. I don't see that cycle, but okay.
All right. Ms. Dillingham, do you have any information about a DeKalb case?
I do not have that information, Your Honor.
All right. What's your bond recommendation?
Due to the alarming facts, Your Honor, I am going to have to read out the facts for the record. On September 5th, 2021, officers responded to 4595 Washington Road, where the victim, Akaria Epps, was living, where she told officers that defendant had grabbed her by the shoulders and violently threw her against various walls. A defendant also grabbed her by the hair and dragged her around through the residence. And defendant held Miss Epps down while he spit in her face. When officers responded, they noted numerous visible abrasions, scratches, and bruises to her forehead, her neck, and her shoulder. And Your Honor, we were actually just informed prior to court that there are medical records from this incident. Miss Epps did have to get stitches and had a fracture to her eye as a result of this incident. Upon receiving that information, we are recommending it to the DA. So the state is going to ask for $6,000 surety bond, no further contact with Miss Epps, and a stay away order from 4595 Washington Road.
Okay. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Kelly is 32 years old. And indeed, he's the one who turned himself in. There was no indication that the police was actually called at the time. He didn't know about this warrant at all. However, he recently got a new job offer at the airport, which he is starting very, very soon. And when he found out that there is actually outstanding warrant, he turned himself in yesterday. And Your Honor, the complaining witness, Ms. Epps, EPPS, I mean, they have not had any contact whatsoever ever since September 2021. So we have no objection to stay away or no further contact at all. They do not have any children together. They do not live together, and they have not had any contact anyway. And he would like to go back and start his new job, Your Honor. So we would like to request for a signature on bond, since he does not have any other violence case. If Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we ask for maximum $1,000 good bond. Thank you.
I'm trying to look at the police report. It was at Is that address still relevant, the Washington Road address, or is that?
Your Honor, I was also notified that address is no longer relevant.
Okay.
Neither the victim nor the defendant live at that address.
All right. Bond is set at 3,000. It is a surety bond. And is the state indicating that they have referred the case to the district attorney's office?
The state is in the process of doing so, Your Honor. We did
Okay.
just receive that information later.
No contact with Akaria Epps, no matter where she happens to be, her home, her place of business, where she's physically standing. There cannot be any contact whatsoever of any type, of any nature with Miss Epps in person, through a social media, phone, computer, a third party, in person, none of that. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. Mr. Kelly, it would be highly advantageous if you make sure that we have your current address, because if the district attorney's office accepts this case, it will be upgraded to a felony aggravated assault. And I highly recommend that you retain counsel to take the proper steps. One of the reasons why I say you have a right to remain silent is that if you want to say anything at this juncture, you could end up incriminating yourself. So unless you have a question about your bond, I would recommend you exercise your right to remain silent.
No, man, I just would like the information of my public defender.
Right, that would be Miss Kim. And Miss Kim, are y'all going to continue representing him?
No, my representation will end at the end of the bond hearing. Since he's not qualified for public defender service, he should have to hire a private attorney.
All right, Mr. Kelly, you got that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Your next court date is January 24th. If you're still at the jail, hopefully we'll have some information as to whether this case is going to progress to a felony or whether it'll remain up to misdemeanor. Thank you.
Are we taking away the stay away?
Yeah, there's it's not a relevant one anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Position 12, Lee.
This is James Robert Lee III, accused of simple battery domestic violence from January 8th, 2023. Mr. Lee, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Miss Kim. Mr. Howard, any priors?
This is fourth arrest. Last was 2016, suspended license, suspended registration. Before that was simple battery, 2 counts, dead docket from 01.
Okay. I've got an open case, 17 CR 021569C. Is that a traffic matter?
Suspended registration. Is that what that is?
Okay.
It's from the 2016 arrest. I'm assuming that's what it is.
Okay. Miss.
That's what I heard as well, Your Honor.
Okay, and Ms. Dillingham, what's your bond recommendation?
Your Honor, this case occurred on January 8th, where officers responded to the victim's residence. The victim's name is Valida Lee. The residence was at 1628 Pinehurst Drive Southwest, and the victim told officers that defendant pushed her into the wall. Due to the prior arrest for battery, the state is recommending a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with Miss Valida Lee, and a stay away from that address, 1628 Pinehurst Drive Southwest.
All right, thank you. Miss Lee, I do see that you're on the Zoom. If you'd like to contribute.
Yes.
All right, if you please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. And how do you know Mr. James Lee?
Oh, he's my brother.
All right. Older, younger?
Younger.
Younger, okay. And do you both share the same residence?
Yes, we do.
All right. And what would you like to tell me about this incident?
Well, it was an unfortunate incident, and I would like for him to, and due to my mom, because he helps me out with my mom while I'm at work, that he comes back to the house, but he needs to have the understanding not to put his hands on me in a threatening manner ever again. And I would request that he get a signature bond.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Kim, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Lee is 62 years old, and as Ms. Lee already mentioned, he's taking care of his mother who has a dementia. He has not been able to have another job for about a month because of the car accident that he was involved. He is actually financially qualified for signature on bond. Qualified for public defender services. So we would like to request for a signature on bond and no further violent contact. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lee, I'm very glad that your sister is here to vouch on your behalf. However, her request is something that's not, she may request that there be no future altercations, but the method to enforce it would be very difficult by the courts. Considering how recent this incident is, I do appreciate that you may be a helping hand at home, but this circumstances has clearly made it very difficult for me to allow you to have any contact with Valida Lee or to return to the location. Your bond is going to be set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. You're to have no further contact with Valida Lee and to stay away from the Pinehurst Drive location. You may return to that location one time only with a police officer to retrieve your personal belongings. Within 30 days of making bond, you have to update the court with with a new address so we can send you notices of when to show up in court. You're not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and not possess any weapons or firearms. While you are on bond also, you are to make sure that you do not return to the location even if Miss Valida Lee summons you back. Because if there are any future altercations, like I said, Miss Lee, you may request it, but it's very difficult to enforce. Asking for something is not as easy as having it granted. If she initiates contact, you are under responsibility to make sure that you have no contact with Miss Lee or return to that location. Yes, Mr. Lee.
If I took some anger management classes or something of that nature, would that help you? Because I really need to be here to take care of my mom. She's 85. She has dementia. She needs 24-hour care.
Understood. Like I said, this unfortunate incident unfortunately has landed you not only in jail, but has put a very big burden on your family. And taking anger management classes at this juncture, that's something that you can voluntarily take. I'm not asking you to do it as a condition of bond, but it's not going to make me change my mind about your bond at the present time. Thank you.
Position 13, Mathis.
Sebastian with 2 A's, Lamont Mathis, is case number 23 CR 0000158J, accused of 3 counts of criminal trespass causing damage to property from January 9th, 2023. Mr. Mathis, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. McLeod. Mr. Howard, any priors, please?
Yeah, 15 total. He was just arrested like 3 days ago for ag assault, according to the GCIC. And those are different booking numbers. So of course that's open. Hold on. Yeah. Before that was January 2022, ag assault, cruelty in the third, 2 counts. That's open. 2019 FTA for driving without a valid license, interference with government property. Disorderly conduct conviction, 2019, more driving. 2018 failure to appear. 2017 failure to appear. Another 2017 failure to appear. That's it.
All right, thank you. Miss Lewis.
Yes, Your Honor. This offense is a criminal trespass that happened on January 9th. Officers reported to 3537 Cretan Road, where they met with Miss Carter, who is the sister of Mr. Mathis. Ms. Carter stated that Mr. Mathis got in a dispute with his brother, Ryan Carter, and then within a fit of rage, he kicked down the door of his parents' room. He went to the front door and tore off the Ring doorbell camera. And then finally, he went outside and kicked the back of the car of his stepfather, who was Mr. Robert Carter, causing a visible dent to the bumper. Due to this, the state is recommending a $1,000 surety bond to stay away from the address, 1 day anger awareness, and no alcohol, drug, and weapons. Nothing further.
All right. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 25 years old. He denies that he did any of this damage to his parents' house, Your Honor. What he tells me is that his sister got into a dispute with her mom and she called him for a ride. And by the time he got over there, the police were already there. He says it wasn't him at all. While I acknowledge that my client does have some history, he says in this case, he actually did not do what they're saying. And his only reason for being there was to pick his sister up after she had had a dispute with their mom and stepfather. I would ask the court to give my client a reasonable bond, Your Honor. He's not in a position to pay a high bond. He is not working right now. He tells me he's in school trying to get his CDL. He is also the father of 2 young children, a 1-year-old and a 6-year-old that he has to take care of. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm reading the warrant, so I'm a little confused by the timeline of events that's been set forth by both sides. Someone called E has got their hand raised. If you want to be addressed, you need to unmute and start your video.
Okay. I barely can talk, Your Honor. I have COVID.
I can't see you though. If I can't
Okay,
see
hold
you.
on. Hold on a second. Can you see me now, Your Honor?
Yes, and who's speaking, please?
My name is Shantae Freeman Carter. I'm Sebastian's mom.
All right, and Ms. Carter, if you'd like to raise your right hand.
Sure.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay, well, go ahead and tell me what you want, then perhaps you can go back and rest.
Okay. So Saturday, he was arrested for aggravated assault. It was an error in the system. They had to take him down and let him go from Fulton County Rice Street. On yesterday, I wasn't even home or my husband, Robert Carter, for me to be in any type of altercation. I was laid up in the ER at Piedmont. And so was my husband. I got the phone call from our 21-year-old.
Who is that?
Her name is Erica Carter.
Okay.
So by this time, I called 911. 911 told me that Sebastian called the police on me. They told me do not come to the residence till they fully arrive. So I was parked on a back street. They tracked my cell phone and came to me.
Who?
Then I came home. And by this time, I have the footage on the Ring camera. It was just so much transpiring. He had already left. He came back to pick up his sister or whatever the case may be. He was here the first time and he was upset because I explained to him, my grandson do not need to be around us right now because we got COVID. And of course, he got upset. And it went left from there. His sister was arrested also yesterday. My other child came back and shot at me last night. So it just was like a domino effect yesterday.
I'm sorry, who shot at you last night?
My other
For other children, she's alleging, Your Honor.
Yes, I'm not alleging. They found the shell casing. I got the video from everything that has happened. It's not a crack in my bumper. My door, my handle, the trunk is cracked.
Okay.
So I don't want to sound harsh. I don't want no contact with him. I love him. He's my child. But I can't keep going through this. So for me, whatever you do, if you let him have bun or whatever, I just don't want him to call. Don't come around here. Just leave me alone.
All right.
That's the way I feel right now.
All right, Ms. Carter, please, you need to go and rest. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Ms. McLeod, did you have anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Just based on what the complaining witness is saying, she has not indicated that she saw my client do anything. So what he's saying makes sense, that he went to pick up his sister and that he didn't do any of this damage they're saying. Nobody saw him do this damage.
Okay.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I have it on the camera.
Ms. Carter, that's it. No more. Thank you. All right. And okay, I'm so sorry, Ms. McLeod, you were interrupted. Did you want to finish?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm just saying there's a lot of moving parts there and a lot going on at her home, obviously with herself and her children, Your Honor. My client denies that he went over there and did any damage to the property. He does not live there. And the police did not see him doing anything there. By the time he got there, the police were already there. This is what he tells me. And the warrant does not contradict that, Your Honor.
Except with one exception. The police did take the statement from an alleged eyewitness. So bond is on the 3 counts is going to be $1,500. It's a total of a $4,500 surety bond. Next court date is January 24th. Mr. Mathis is to stay 500 yards away from the location identified as 3537 Creighton Street in Atlanta, Georgia. He's to have no further contact with his mother, Miss S. Carter, with stepfather, Mr. Robert Carter, with Ryan Carter, and with Erica Carter. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no alcohol, and his next court date is January 24th.
Thank you, Honor.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mathis?
Your Honor, I was unaware that it was 3 charges. When I was arrested, then booked in, they only charged.
Let me clarify. The arrest citation and the warrant indicates that the items that were allegedly damaged was a door, a ring camera, and a vehicle. So each charge references a specific item.
I understand, Your Honor. Thank you.
Position 14. How do you say your last name? Medina.
Lorenz Medina is accused of battery domestic violence in 23 CR 0001458 from January 7th, 2023. Mr. Medina, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be either Miss Gant or Miss Kim. Which public defense attorney is representing Mr. Medina?
I am not, Your Honor. Perhaps it is J. Kim.
All right, Miss Kim. Oh, she may be having audio video issues. Miss Gant, are you able to text or email Miss Kim and just make sure that she's...
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
Your
okay.
Honor, I apologize.
That's okay. Just thought you may have some audio video Zoom issues. All right, Miss Kim, we are on position 14, Mr. Lawrence Medina.
Yes.
And you are presently his appointed counsel.
Correct,
Is it
Your
just
Honor.
for today, or you're representing him?
Yes, just for now, just for a bond hearing, Your Honor. He's not qualified for public defender's service.
Okay, so we need to hire a private attorney after today.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Howard, any priors on Mr. Medina?
Last arrest was back in October, DUI out of Marietta. Before that was November 2021, theft by taking, battery DV, hindering person from making emergency calls. That's all I have. And that appears to be open.
And which,
She got a TPO too.
and the battery DV is from which county? I'm sorry? Cobb, okay.
He got a TPO that expires in 2027.
Your Honor, permission to speak real quick?
Hold on, sir. Hold
Just
on.
one
Hold on.
second,
Hold
just
on.
one second. The TPO expires in 2027.
Yeah, but the victim name in that case is a Jessica Salas. I don't know who the victim is in this case, but this is from another state too.
Okay.
That's it.
Mr. Medina, you have a right to remain silent. Anything about your case? If you make any statements, it could be used against you. So I would recommend that you wait till you've spoken to Ms. Kim.
All right, well, all right, go ahead.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at 410 Highwood Lane on January 7th, 2023. Officers reported to this location where they were met with Miss Monique Dickens, that's spelled Monique. Dickens is common spelling, who is the girlfriend of Mr. Medina. Ms. Dickens stated that she went over to pick up the defendant, who was heavily intoxicated. An argument then ensued and Mr. Medina began punching her in the face. Once they arrived at their home, which is the 410 Highwood Lane address, they pulled into the garage and Mr. Medina began punching her in the face, causing Ms. Dickens to fall to the floor. Mr. Medina then began kicking and stomping on Ms. Dickens' body with his feet. When Ms. Dickens was able to get up, she began to walk out of the garage into the driveway where witnesses Tyesha, and that is spelled Tyesha, Little John, and Tiwana, which is spelled Tiyaunna, Benson, were able to separate Mr. Medina and Ms. Dickens. The officer who reported did observe lacerations and swelling to Ms. Dickens' face. Because of the nature of this, the state is requesting a $3,000 surety bond, no future contact with Ms. Dickens, stay away from this location, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and one-day anger awareness. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. We have no objection to no further contact and stay away. Mr. Medina is 36 years old and his highest level of education he completed was 11th grade. He works as a manager at the sandwich shop. It's like a Subway. He's been working there for about 4 months. Even prior to that job, he was always working at a restaurant manager. Your Honor, he will be residing with his mother since, they broke up and they will not be living together anymore. We would like to request for a signature on bond. And if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond because of other cases, we would like to request for maximum $1,000 good bond. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bond is set at 3,000. It's just a surety bond.
Your Honor, permission to speak real quick?
It's up to you, sir. You've been advised of your right to remain silent. If you waive your right, you know the consequences.
So we're gonna let her speak first because she's here on video and she'll let you.
All right. Oh, that's. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I didn't see that.
I want to know where the kicking and all this came from because there wasn't even nothing like that.
Ms. Dickens, if you'd like to say something, I may have to place you under oath. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony provided will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I would just like to tell the court that, I spoke to a young lady earlier and I told her that, I don't mind having contact with Mr. Medina. I've been speaking with his mother and his brother, and I understand that he needs help. He needs treatment. This was a first-time event. He's not a woman beater or a woman abuser. I just believe the alcohol intensed the violence, and because he's not that type of person, he is a hardworking man. And I advised her as well that, we can have contact. I don't have any ill will towards him. I don't believe that he'll be violent towards me again. And that I just seek the least punishable offense for him.
Oh, we're not having a trial today. Today is the only issue of what manner does he get released from jail.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. And you are aware that he's got a restraining order against him from a case in Cobb County.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are aware that he was arrested for battery in Cobb County.
Yes, ma'am. I went to court with him on that.
Okay.
I was not the victim.
All right, thank you.
And permission
All
to
right.
speak, Your Honor, real quick. And by the way, those charges right there, I was lied on, so they're about to get dropped because I got a lawyer for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have they been dismissed?
They're going to really soon, as soon as I go back to court.
Okay, when they do get dismissed, you'll need to update us with that.
I'm just saying because like it makes me look crazy because of my record, you know what I'm saying? And then I come up here and I'm not none of those things. She just told you that I'm a hard worker and it just makes me work even harder when
Mr. Medina, I understand your position, but please keep in mind that my bond is being set strictly on the sworn statements of the police officer from the warrant issued.
She just spoke to you though.
When the accused allegedly repeatedly punched, kicked his girlfriend on her face and body, she sustained a laceration on her lip and swelling on her face. And then if I go into the police report, please be mindful that the attack goes into greater detail as described by the police officer based on the testimony of witnesses and also apparently from video footage taken from a neighboring ring camera. So all this information right now should be conveyed to your attorney. I'm not calling you crazy. I'm not calling you, as Ms. Dickens has said, an abuser of women, but taken all these circumstances, your arrest in Cobb County, and the fact that a restraining order has been issued against you, I think the prosecutor has made a relatively low bond recommendation of $3,000. I was looking somewhere in the range of $10,000 to $15,000. So shall I proceed?
I'm listening. Thank you.
Shall I proceed?
I said I'm listening, Your Honor. I said
$3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Monique Dickens.
So how much is that?
Listen very carefully. This is not your first time rodeo in this particular matter. It's a $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Monique Dickens, which means you stay 200 yards away from her. You do not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You're not to communicate with any of the alleged witnesses that have been identified in the police report, and they're referred to as Little John, Taisha, and Benson. You're not to communicate, have any contact with the neighbor, Carlisle Moore. You are not going to be permitted to return to 410 Highwood Lane, East Point to retrieve any belongings. If there are any belongings, a third party can go and see Ms. Dickens to retrieve your belongings. You're not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. Your next court date is January 24th. And within 30 days of being released on bond, you are to update the court with your new address and contact information. Now, what's your question?
So how much exactly do I have to pay off on that?
It would bonding companies charge between
Thank you,
10
Your
to
Honor. I'm being
15%.
rushed. Thank you so much, Your Honor. Appreciate you.
Come on, Mr. Position 17, Thomas.
Derrick Thomas
Yes,
is
good afternoon, Your
case
Honor.
number 23 CR 000-157H, accused of battery domestic violence from January 9th, 2023. Mr. Thomas, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim? No, Ms. McLeod.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yeah, I'm just trying to ascertain who's the PD.
It's my case, Your Honor.
Oh, Ms. McLeod. Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Rogers, do you want to say something before I get into the GCIC?
Yes, the case has been transferred to the district attorney's office. We asked that it be reset to the felony first appearance calendar.
Okay. When was he arrested?
Let me see here. 1 second.
Your Honor, he was arrested on January 9th,
Okay,
yesterday.
all right, and that's confirmed. The district attorney's office has accepted the case?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Thomas, it appears that the district attorney's office, which prosecutes felony charges, has accepted this particular case as a felony matter. So it's going to be reset to the first appearance calendar. I think they've already concluded with the calendar today, so it'll be reset to the first appearance calendar tomorrow, January 11th at 11 a.m.
Judge, since the case is already accused, we have to make sure we have an order now.
Okay, so Mr. Rogers, we need a transfer order.
Yes.
Sending the case to the Superior Court for first appearance.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. McLeod.
Your Honor, I've already received that order.
Okay.
So now do I still need to send a bond amount before
No.
this case is heard over there? Transfer is good enough?
The transfer order is good enough. I think he's in a no bond status. So we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Position 19, Woodall.
Carlin Woodall is case number 23 CR 000156B, accused of battery, domestic violence, and simple assault, domestic violence from December 11th, 2022. Mr. Woodall, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Mr. Howard?
This is first adult arrest. You want the juvie?
No.
All right.
And he is 17 years old?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just turned 17. Okay. All right. Mr. Rogers, do you have a recommendation for bond?
Yes, Your Honor. The facts of the case are on December the 11th of 2022. Police were dispatched to 2121 Hollywood Road Northwest for a domestic dispute. When they arrived, they came in contact with a Miss Kayla Brantley, first name Nicklya, last name Brantley, common spelling. She stated that her and her child's father, Mr. Woodall, were in an argument. During the argument, Mr. Woodall went into the kitchen and grabbed a knife and approached her while she was in the bedroom. She stated he did not try to attack her with the knife, but he did confront her with the knife. She stated she tried to close the door. He then barged his way into the room and began to kick and punch her while she was holding her 3-month-old baby. Police officers called the ambulance to check out Miss Brantley and the 3-year-old child at the scene. She did have small cuts to her arms and chest, and she did leave that location for the night. The state is requesting a $5,000 surety bond, $4,000 on the first charge on count 1, and $1,000 on the second charge. A stay away order from the victim and the address. No further contact with the victim. Anger management class. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons while on bond. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Woodall is 17 years old, and he recently had to change from high school to GED classes because of his newborn son that he has to take care of. So he's working as a cook at Hub 28 full-time to provide for his family. His basically his newborn baby and the complaining witness. They are actually living together and their apartment is in both name. However, my client can have another place to go. Only thing is that, Your Honor, I try to find someone who can co-sign for him, and his mother is currently incarcerated and his father has deceased. So he has Auntie Wilson Marginette, who is on the probably on the Zoom here, who can co-sign for him. She is 65 years old and she's willing to co-sign. So we would like to ask her to be a co-signer and for him to get a signature on bond, so that way he can continuously take care of his children, his child, and also complete his GED class.
Is Kayla Brantley on the Zoom? Kayla Brantley. Okay. Who is here on behalf of Mr. Woodall?
I believe Wilson Marginette.
I have someone called Mother Wilson.
Yes.
I've been trying to get her to unmute and start a video.
That's me. Can you hear me?
I can't see you.
Okay, let's see what I need to do.
Judge,
So
one
you
thing, one more thing. You got a October 22 MAGC open marijuana case.
Okay, got it. Thank you. All right. Ms. Wilson, good afternoon. My name is Judge Law. Would you like to contribute to this hearing?
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you, but you need to go on the other side because okay, perfect. Yeah, leave the camera right where it is. Thank you.
So I can't see, why can't I see anybody?
Slide the picture on the screen if you're using an iPhone.
Not an iPhone.
Then I don't know how to use your device.
Okay, so it says safe driving mode.
Oh. Well, I don't know how you've got your setting, but my name is Judge Law and we can see you.
Okay, I see you now.
Okay. All right, Ms. Wilson, may I place you under oath if you plan to say something? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
How do you know Mr. Carlin Woodall?
Nikelia Brantley is my, I say my granddaughter. I don't have any blood grandchildren, but she's been connected with my church since she was 8 years old, and I love her like a granddaughter. So.
All right. And what's your full name? I'm sorry.
Marginette Wilson.
Marginette Wilson. All right.
I'm sorry. The mother Wilson comes from my Bible study screen name. I'm the mother of my church.
I see. Okay. And Miss Wilson, how do you know Carlin Woodall?
I've known Carlin for I want to say probably 6 months.
6 months? Okay.
I think maybe a little longer than that. The baby is anyway, as long as since August, June, maybe earlier in the year.
Okay. So since fall
last year.
Okay. Would you say then you are more closely associated with Miss Brantley?
Yes.
All right. Does Miss Brantley live with you?
No, she doesn't.
All right. And do you know where she is today? You don't tell me where she is, but do you know where she is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What would you like to tell us today?
That I was asked to co-sign for him. I believe that he will appear in court. I don't know what co-signing involves. I am not physically able to make any moves. I was in a car accident a few years back, so I have mobility issues. I don't know what's required, the co-signature. I thought he was doing a signature bond. From what I know of Carlin, he's very respectful. He loves his kid and he loves Nikelia. For the meaning of what a 17-year-old can understand love to mean in their heart. So he's never disrespected me in any way. He's been diligent to care for them and provide for them. He listens to me when I give him advice. He's tried to help out. I can't speak for his past, but I have a past. So I'm non-judgmental of who he was before I met him, what he's dealing with now. I can't speak on those things. I only know him for Carlin Woodall, who he is to me. And that's what I can speak about. So I can tell you he's never disrespected me, and he's never done anything in my sight to be harmful to Nikelia or to Carry On, which is their baby.
Thank you. Ms. Kim, do you have anything else to add?
Your Honor, this happened on December 11, 2022. So it has been there has been enough cooling period. So I would like for him to return home and have no further violent contact.
Okay. My biggest concern is the allegations of the warrant. There's an allegation of a weapon being used, an allegation of a young child being involved, and overall circumstances doesn't give rise to the issuance of a signature bond in this domestic violence situation. On the battery is going to be a $2,500 surety. On the simple assault, $1,000. The total bond is $3,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Ms. Brantley. No further contact with the child in question. Mr. Woodall, if you wish to have visitation and custody with your child, you will need to file an appropriate legitimation action in the Superior Court of Fulton County. On the first floor of the courthouse, we have a self-help office, and they have the proper paperwork for you to file the necessary case so that you can get a court order to establish visitation and custody over the child that you share with Ms. Brantley. You're not to return to 2121 Hollywood Road in Northwest Atlanta. You may return one time only with a police officer to retrieve your personal belongings. But after that, you cannot return to that location. Within 30 days of being released on bond, you're to update the court with your new address. You're not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and you're not to possess any weapons or any firearms. Unfortunately, Ms. Wilson does not qualify as a co-signer because she is neither family nor relation nor a close member of your family, close to your family in terms of housing and so forth. So she won't be able to vouch for you as a co-signer. Did you have a question about your bond?
The thing is about my bond, I was trying to see if I can get my bond lower than that, because like I do have a lot of things that I have to pay, because I have another bond that from the other court that I hardly don't even have money to pay for that. So I just need help with the money situation too. I do go to work every day, but
I understand, Mr. Woodall, but considering the egregiousness of the circumstances, like I said, it involves an alleged use of a weapon, involves a small child, involves a certain degree of violence.
a weapon never got used though. When I grabbed the knife.
Oh,
please, Mr.
Look,
Woodall,
I set my hand.
please stop saying anything. You have a right to remain silent.
welcome to the adult world. Anything you say about your case from now on is just going to end up. I mean, just if you can see the people who are shaking their heads right now because of what you just said. Your next court date is January 24th. Your attorney is going to be the Public Defense Office. Thank you.
Position 1, this is the plea.
Francois, do we have any more folks in courtroom 2?
Yes, position 1, this is, he's taking a plea.
Oh, that's right. Ms. Bridgewater, do you have the plea paperwork?
Yes, I have it.
All right. Ms. Wilson, you'll need to mute your screen, or Ms. Lewis, if we can mute Mother Wilson's screen.
I'm trying to close out. I'm trying to leave.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, courtroom 2, Mr. Innocent Ajuzi is case 23 CR 0000142H. He's accused of criminal trespass from January 9th, 2023. He's been advised of his right to remain silent and his right to counsel, but he's chosen to proceed self-represented. Ms. Bridgewater, you have his plea paperwork?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, good. Okay, Mr. Ajuzi, if you please raise your right hand. You need to sit up straight. Sit up straight. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that sounds very convincing to me. All right, Mr. Taylor, what's the plea recommendation? You can put your hand down, sir.
Your Honor, it'll be a plea to count 1, criminal trespass for 12 months probation, 1 day in jail, credit for time served, 1 day, and the balance suspended, and he is to stay away from the 5 Points MARTA station.
Excuse me, Judge.
Yes.
If he's on probation, I don't think we have a probation officer on this call.
No, he's not. It's going to be suspended.
Okay, I thought I heard him say probation. Okay, no problem.
And Mr. Taylor, it looks like he's already got an active suspension from December 9th, 2022.
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Do you know when that expires?
I do not know when that expires. We would just ask that it would be for this particular area, the 5 Point station. I think that's for all MARTA locations.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Ajuzi, you have already read through the documents. You've read the plea offer.
Yes, I have.
And it appears that you already have an active suspension from all MARTA property at the present time. Do you know when that expires?
April 9th, 2023.
April 9th, 2023. Okay. And do you know if you've been given another suspension as a result of this arrest?
Can you say it again, please?
Do you know if you received another suspension as a result of this arrest?
Yeah, they added additional 30 days onto it. Still
So
supposed,
most likely you're not allowed to return to MARTA until middle of May 2023.
my citation said April 9th, 2023.
Well, that's from the prior suspension.
Okay, I see.
All right. So if you decide that you want to accept this plea recommendation, you would have to agree that the factual basis surrounding this offense, the identity of the perpetrator, that is you, and that the venue of the offense in Fulton County, Georgia, are all true and correct. Do you so stipulate?
Yeah.
All right. I need to see your face, and if you keep crouching down, I won't be able to see your face. No, you can put your mask back on. All right.
There you go.
Good job. First of all, have you consumed any medication or alcohol?
No.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes.
And can you explain to me what the recommendation from the state means?
No.
You cannot explain to me what the recommended sentence is?
Um, 12 months in the firm, on 12-month probation, 1 day in jail. Criminal trespass, credit for time served, balance suspended, stay away from 5 Points MARTA.
What does that mean that you have to do?
Stay away from 5 Points.
Well, you got the gist of it. All right, and Mr. Ajuzi, do you understand that if you plead guilty, that you would have to waive your constitutional rights to ever challenge this charge in a court of law?
Yes.
You will not be able to have a trial. You will not be able to have an attorney assist you. You will not be able to confront your accuser, challenge the state's evidence, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to waive these rights?
Yes.
You will not be able to also appeal from any decision. This will be a final conclusion of the case.
Okay.
And you also understand that I have the discretion of not accepting the plea and having the case scheduled for trial.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Ajuzi, how do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass?
Yes.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 1 day, credit for time served 1 day. The balance will be suspended. You are to stay away from, listen very carefully. You have to stay away from all MARTA property, trains and buses, all stations, until May 15th, 2023. After that, you have to stay away from the 5 Points MARTA station. As long as there are any other suspensions against you.
Okay.
That concludes the case. Thank you.
Judge, I do have a quick announcement for position 4. It's gonna be a medical reset. And then we're completed here in courtroom 2.
Okay, is this a first reset?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you then. Appreciate it, Francois. You have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. Position 1, Ajuzi was a plea. Position 2, Aston-Johnson, 3,500 signature bond through pretrial. Further notice. Position 3, Bailey was a 2,000 surety, January 24. Position 4, Monica Brown, reset to January 11th. See calendar. It's a medical reset. Position 5, Casey is a 1,500 surety bond, January 24. 6 is a $5,000 surety bond, reset January 24. 7 is a 500 surety bond, reset January 24. 8, Frazier is a 1,500 surety bond, reset January 24. 9, Gardner is a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial per judge for the notice. 10, Johnson's a 3,000 signature bond per judge for the notice. Position 11, Kelly is a $3,000 surety bond, reset January 24th. 12 is a 1,500 surety bond, reset January 24th. 13 is a 4,500 surety bond, reset January 24th. 14, Medina is a $3,000 surety bond, reset January 24th. 15, Robinson, Shanta Robinson. Does anybody know why? Did we address that case?
No, we did not, Your Honor.
Okay. Who's represent Ms. Kim? Have you spoken to Ms. Robinson?
No, I was not able to speak, but I filled out the waiver of appearance form.
Okay. All right. We'll address that after the calendar review.
Yes.
Olex Simplex, position 16, it's a $2,000 signature bond through the, I think it was through the jail. And that's further notice. 17 is transferred to Superior Court, reset to first appearance tomorrow for felonies at 11 a.m. 18, Thornton-Thomas is a 2,500 surety bond, January 24th. And 19 is a 3,500 surety bond, reset January 24th. Okay, going back to Ms. Robinson. Yes, Ms. Gant?
I do apologize for interrupting. My business is concluded. I do have another matter to tend to. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Gant. You have a good day. Thank you.
You too.
Yeah, anybody else who's not involved in the Robinson case are free to go. But Ms. Kim, for 23 CR 000057J, Ms. Shanta Robinson was accused of criminal trespass from January 4th, 2023. Is this the one that's been reset repeatedly since last week?
Yes.
Okay. And so you've waived her appearance?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Howard, any priors on Ms. Shanta Robinson?
Last arrest was back in September for criminal trespass and terroristic threats. The terroristic threats was dismissed. She was arrested in July 2021 for trespass. June 2021, trespass nolo. October 2020, trespass nolo. That was out of the cab.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Ms. Todd, what's your recommendation? This was the trespass at the Ponce de Leon Shell gas station?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct. The Shell gas station is located at 486 Ponce de Leon Avenue. According to the 911 call in this case, an individual matching the defendant's description was in the store harassing customers. Upon arrival of Officer Reagan, he immediately recognized Mrs. Robinson as someone who has been criminally trespassed from this same location back on September 14th of 2022. The state is asking for a $1,000 surety bond, which is already in place in this case, Your Honor. And we ask for an additional stay away from the Shell gas station, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Ms. Kim?
We have no objection, except that we would like to see if we can put her calendar to the competence calendar on January 19th.
Okay. Bond is going to remain at $1,000 surety bond to stay away from the Shell gas station at 486 Ponce de Leon in Atlanta, Georgia. And the case is going to be reset January 19th, which would be the not this Thursday, but the following Thursday competency calendar. And Ms. Kim, you're going to submit the evaluation forms, or have those already been submitted?
They've been submitted.
Okay, thank you. All right, January 19 competency calendar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because can y'all make that 2 weeks out on the competency calendar because of the order and getting stuff done? If it could be the following week, the 26th.
Ms. Kim, any objection to the 26th?
Nope, no
All right,
objection, Your Honor.
January 26th, CC cap. Okay.
And number 2 was per judge.
Also,
Yeah.
okay, Ms. Holly,
I have it. I'll
all
take
right. Thank you. All right, folks, thank you very much. That concludes court, and we will see you all tomorrow. Take
You
care.
here tomorrow?
No, I've got civil, but